Welcome to the 4-Point Play. We're going to get started with a segment about Victor Wembanyama. How many players in the league do we think are currently better than Victor Wembanyama? And we're going to do this assuming that this is the best player on their own team. So they're surrounded by a bunch of nobodies, everybody on this list, just to make it easier. I'll read out my 19 definitely's. Jokic, Giannis, Embiid, Tatum, Luka, Shea, Kawhi, KD, Steph, AD, Butler, Edwards, LeBron, Booker, Brunson, Halliburton, Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, Paul George. And then I have 9 maybes. De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis, Maxey, Lillard, Randall, Markkanen, Zion, Trae Young, and Cat.
Right off the bat, I'm going to say he's better than Randall. For sure. I think
He's
that's
in my
one where I have to
maybes.
say definitely he's better than Randall.
If you put them on their own team and everyone else is a bum.
That's a really good list. I mean, the only 2 maybes I would consider putting above him would be the 2 Kings.
I had thought about them. I just thought about when Sabonis was with the Pacers, they were pretty not good.
I mean, they were okay. They were
all right.
Really like the 7 seed maybe.
But, I mean, he definitely had better players around him than Wemby does at the moment.
Right, yeah. It's hard to hold the winning against Victor right now.
Yes.
True.
And, I mean, Fox and Sabonis are kind of like Jokic and Murray. Like,
a mini version, right? They kind of play similar, but
they're
not
mini
like
versions,
to the same
yeah.
extent.
Fox is a neck up above Murray, and Sabonis is
I'd
nowhere
say
near
Fox,
Jokic.
yeah, Fox is maybe a little
Fox is better
than Murray.
ability-wise, but when it comes time for the playoffs, Murray shows up, and Murray, we know
He
what
does.
he can be like in the playoffs.
In fairness,
so.
Fox showed up.
He did. He was really good in the first round until he broke his finger.
All right, so Fox, do we agree, or you disagree?
I think Fox is better.
I do too. I think Fox is definitely
If
better.
Fox was his own guy on his own team, like when
Right now, yeah.
Yeah.
For now.
I mean,
next year maybe. I mean, sophomore year is when the guys normally take the
So
jump.
if you trade right now, if you traded Fox for Wemby, the Spurs would be better.
Right now, maybe. I
might
think
be,
the
yeah.
problem with Wemby
I
is
don't
we always associate projection. Because I think we'd all agree by the end
I'm
of next
not.
season he could be so high up on everyone's list.
Mm-hmm.
But right now it's hard to go against Fox considering all the clutch moments we've seen and all the great games we've seen. It's hard to just say.
I completely agree with you. My only argument to that would be, like I said, just in the he on his own team he's a great player, but they also have a pretty solid roster around him. He has one of the top 5 centers in the league, and they have great chemistry. They have a great coach. They have a bunch of shooters, and I just think if you put Fox on that Spurs team on his own, he'll have maybe a little more offensive impact. It'll be a lot harder for him to score. I think his defensive impact is going to show up a lot. So I don't know if they're necessarily better.
I mean, he was dealt a similar hand going to Sacramento as a rookie.
You're right, yeah.
I mean, they've been a laughing stock since most of his life.
Yeah.
To be honest. So he also was dealt like a pretty nasty hand. And while obviously Victor has the highest potential of any player in the league,
Yep.
I think if we're comparing at this moment, I'll take Fox. And I speak
fair.
for all competent Knicks fans when I say that Victor is miles ahead of Julius.
Yes.
That's true. And I think one thing you have to point out about Fox, too, that you just brought up, Mike, is that Fox going to Sacramento, normally that's a death sentence for anybody if you get drafted to the Kings. I mean, you
Yes.
see even guys like Tyreek Evans, who had an insane rookie year, putting up 26 and 6. He fizzled out after a year, and then Sacramento does what Sacramento does, and they just end up being trash again. Until Fox, he had to get Sabonis in the team, and both those guys had to work together, but they finally got the Kings into the playoffs, and they pushed the Warriors 7. That's something we got to take in mind.
Yes.
Steph is obviously
And
Steph.
De'Aaron Fox had a broken finger at the
Game
end
7,
of that
yeah.
series.
He broke his finger, I think, in game 5 or 6.
I think 6 he played with it.
Yeah, and then 7 too. He had that little thing on it, right?
Yeah.
That covered it up, kind of. I think right now, though, you got to see Sabonis is better. I think Sabonis is. He's an MVP candidate right now, top 10 for MVP. He's putting up almost a triple-double, honestly. He's putting up 20, 12, and 8, I think, right now. His
Victor?
stats are pretty absurd. No, Sabonis.
So
I think Sabonis,
yes.
you have to say, is definitely better than Victor
So you'd say,
now.
yeah.
Right now, yes, for sure.
That's fair. I think him playing with the
Fox
team he
helps.
has helps with the Definitely helps with the assists. And Sabonis is leading the league in assists. He's got 13 a game. Wemby's at 10.
Or rebounds, I think you meant.
But that's yeah. Did I say assists? Yeah, I meant assists. Rebounds. So
it's amazing he gets 13 rebounds though.
It is.
That's a lot. He's not that big.
But on his team he is.
He's 7 feet.
He's a stat in mind.
To be fair.
Yeah. So, all right. So you guys want to say Fox and Sabonis are better? Maxey, no.
I'm taking Maxey.
I'd say no. I'd say
this year. But
I would say absolutely not on Maxey. The Sixers have a way better roster even right now around Maxey, and they are in a landslide. Like, they are sinking quick in the standings. They lose to everybody.
You're making a good point here. I think it's just tough, though, because when it comes to ranking rookies, like, Wembanyama's having one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen, for sure. But even, like, guys like LeBron, guys like Doncic, guys like, those two guys in particular, guys that had insane rookie years. I mean, Luka, I would debate, had a better rookie year than Wembanyama's having right now. He had, 21, 6, and 6 as a rookie, and he was going off. 19 years old. I think he was a little bit younger than Wemby, maybe a hair. But no, Luka, it's the second year normally when these guys end up taking their jump. So Luka was, Rookie of the Year, and then second year he goes to being a first-team All-NBA player.
Yes.
So it's like, that's kind of how it works with these guys, like these generational type talents like LeBron, like Luka, like Wemby. Their first year is really good and they show a lot of upside, but when it comes to like the second year, that's when you take that jump and when you really assert yourself up with like the top tier of guys. So right now, even I know that the Sixers aren't doing too hot. I think I would still probably take Maxey right now, though.
You think if you put Maxey on that team, that he's better than Wemby is?
I think it's a little unfair to kind of use that as a comparison too, because of the whole entire guard/big man type thing. Big men are more valuable.
I'm more so saying the level of skill of the players around Wemby versus the level of skill of the players around Maxey.
Without Embiid, if you take Embiid out of the question because Embiid's hurt, right?
I'm just saying, like, if you put we don't even have to include like the Keldon Johnsons and Sohans. We can just say we have a bunch of guys who are 70 overall players. Put Wemby with them. How good is that team? Put Maxey with them. How good is that team? And it'll accustomed to each position. So Maxey's obviously going to be the point guard. Wemby's going to be the center. I think the Wembanyama team is going to be better.
I think that's a tough thing to say though, because like obviously I think no matter what, center is just a more valuable position. I think if you take Jamal,
yes.
Then if you take Jamal Murray in the playoffs, right? Like playoff Murray was nuts last year. He put up 27, 7 and 7 for the playoffs, right?
And he still wasn't the best player on his team.
No, he wasn't the best player on his team, but like that's just what happens when you're a guard. Like if you're a guard, you ideally in the modern day NBA, unless you're Steph Curry, you can't really win a championship being a guard on a team unless you're like 6'6" or taller as like the best player. So for me, I think that's a little bit of an unfair thing because if you're a guy like Maxey who's 6'1", 6'2", you kind of have to be that Robin to like your Embiid and play off of your big guy. Yeah. And I think that fit, like the Jamal Murray, the Tyrese Maxey fit, where you have an All-NBA center right there, even the Fox fit too, to put that out there as an example. You're playing off of an elite big guy that enhances you, and your skill sets are so good back and forth that it makes it just an ideal situation. But the center is always what drives it because it's a big man dominated league as it always has been. Yeah. So I think that the fact that you have your Embiid, you have your Jokic, it makes it a lot easier for these guys.
All right, so we'll say Fox, Sabonis, Maxey, Lillard. I think we could probably put if we're gonna say Maxey, Lillard's better than Maxey.
He's having a bit of an off-shooting year, but
He's better than Maxey. I think I'm not super high on Damian Lillard as a player or his play style. He's a better player than Maxey through and through. So if we're gonna say Maxey, we have to say Lillard. We all said no to Randall.
Yeah, right. He's better than Randall for sure.
Markkanen.
He's better than Markkanen.
Yeah. Zion. This one was hard for me because I think Zion,
a healthy Zion
is absurd. Healthy Zion, you could make an argument he's top 10, but how Zion as he is, you could make an argument he's not even top 25. He is a huge drop off just because of his inconsistency with health and with just his will to play.
I'd be willing to put Wemby above him already.
I don't know if I would. I mean, just like it depends on obviously if you factor in the injuries or not, right? Like obviously,
I think I'd still put Zion above him.
I would too. I mean, like if you're factoring it in though, like, and you say injuries are included, I think I'd take Wemby.
Yes.
But like Zion as a player, I mean, I heard Zach Lowe on ESPN say he's a tank that can fly, and I mean it's true, right? He's a tank that can fly. He's pretty ridiculous. Him and even Brandon Ingram, I think I'd probably put above Wembanyama too. B.I.
Ingram?
I think I might with Ingram too. I think Ingram's really solid still. I think next year Wembanyama will be better than Ingram, but I think for now, at least as a rookie, like I think I'd probably still take B.I. But next year for sure I'd take Wembanyama.
Okay.
I think also a lot of people are quick to forget too. Like Zion was like Wemby coming in
in his rookie year, Zion was absurd before he got hurt.
And his hype might have been even greater because he played at Duke. That's like the biggest brand in college basketball.
He was breaking Shaq records.
They knew him in high school, like doing the dunk contest, McDonald's All-American. So he's had as much hype as like guys like LeBron, as anyone who's come into the league.
Exactly.
And he hasn't underperformed. I mean, he's underperformed in terms of like he hasn't been able to stay on the court, or he's never led the team far.
Yeah.
But he still has played like at an elite level at times. Putting up as a rookie, he put up around 20 a game as a rookie. So he's been pretty solid throughout his whole career. In his second year or third year, he put up 26, and they went to the playoffs. So I'd still take Zion at the moment, even with his kind of fluctuating play and weight. And
I'm just factoring in the defense. I mean, what does Brandon Ingram average at the moment?
I don't know.
Maybe like 23.
B.I. probably puts up 20. Yeah,
22, 23. Wemby's putting up almost 21. I think we're just not also including the defensive valuation of him. I mean, in his last 5 games, he's averaged like 6 stocks.
And if the Spurs played him more, which they could.
Yeah, he plays like low 30s.
Yeah, he barely plays 30 a game. Honestly, yeah, I'd be willing to put him above B.I. B.I. maybe like a couple years ago I would have taken, but now that B.I. is not an all-star anymore.
We're also not going off like potential. We're going just right now. And even right now, I still think Wemby has. I think early on in his rookie year, I think. No disrespect to Greg Popovich, I think he was doing him a little bit of a disservice with his experimentation with
the minutes,
Sohan at the point, the minutes. Yeah. They weren't playing Trey Jones, who is their best point guard. So Wemby in 2024 has been averaging like 24 points a game or something like that. So it's a lot more. Actually, it's probably not that high. It's probably like 22 points a game. But that's still a lot better. And so the other ones are Trae Young and Cat. Cat, I think I would probably still say Cat's
You're taking
better.
Cat right now. He was an all-star this year.
I think I'd also take Trae Young.
Maybe the best
now.
Shooting big man too.
Trae Young, his offense is absurd.
Trae Young's a weird one because he's one of the stat guys where you just go, oh, he had 33 and 17, and they lost or whatever. But he's still a great player, even though he kind of just puts up numbers at this point.
Yeah.
With the Hawks too. I mean, I don't know, with Trae Young, it's the same type of deal that I was talking about before when you have a big guy to play off of. He has the skill set where you really need a big guy, except I think Trae Young's just such a defensive liability though. Being 6'1", he is really a defensive liability, so it's tough. I mean, Victor, once again, I think next year Victor will have ascended his offensive game enough to warrant being above Trae Young. But for now, this year, I think I'd take Trae Young still slightly.
All right, that is 26 guys. Do you think there's anyone more?
That sounds right to me.
I don't have anyone else on the top of my head. I mean,
it's a good number.
You got like Gobert. I think Wemby's probably past him.
Yeah, he's basically can do what Gobert can do, except he's more talented.
Yeah.
Are there any other all-stars who made it this year? Scotty Barnes. I'd still take Wemby over Scotty.
I would, yeah. I'd take Wemby over
Cade,
Scotty.
other first overall pick.
I'm taking Wemby any day over Cade.
Yeah, I'd take Wemby over Cade.
I mean, his team's already doing better, and he has less help.
I'm trying to think if there's anybody else, too.
Maybe. It's a maybe, but...
We had Jimmy Butler on that list, right?
Oh,
Obviously.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is Paul George on there?
Yes.
Adebayo's worth a shout.
Harden, I did not have on here.
He's such a weird one.
He is a weird one, yeah. And Adebayo's another shout, too, from what I was saying, or what I said before. I think he's at least...
The thing with Harden and even Gobert, I'd say, is just, it's kind of respect to them is what they've been. Like, Gobert, for what he's been as a center, winning Defensive Player of the Year and things like that, and being the best defensive center...
I mean, Wemby's right there in the race with him right now.
Gobert's going to win his fourth this year. Fourth defensive player of the year.
Maybe, if Wemby doesn't take it. Wemby, a month ago had the amount of blocks that Gobert had in his first Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, it's impressive. I just don't think you can give depoy to a guy who's got 10 wins, 11 wins in a team. I just don't think
you're right. You're right. Gobert's anchoring the best defense in the NBA.
So it's going to be Gobert. But I think Wembanyama, ability-wise, next year he's going to be a better defender than Gobert, and it's not even close. Once Wembanyama's got a year of experience under his belt, he hops in next year into the league with his feet
gains 10 more pounds.
Gains 10 more pounds. Yeah, they're going to get him on a good regiment there for diet.
I think kind of just like to close out like that segment too. It's a good thing for Victor that he's miles ahead of the rest of his peers, like the rest of his rookie class. I know Chet was technically the class from the year before, but he's still like a rookie in terms of like the voting. But even now, like you've seen as like the season's gone on, like he's a neck above Chet. He's a neck above Brandon Miller, who actually is better than most people thought. So he's definitely like a whole level above like his rookie class, and it's probably going to remain that way for the rest of their careers. Even Scoot, who had a lot of high expectations. I know he's a smaller guard, but Victor is like not even close to any of that.
The Rookie of the Year race for a while was leaning Chet. At this point, it's starting to seem like it's wraps.
Yeah, it's definitely tilted.
Let's move on to our second segment, West play-in expectations. As of today, the 7, 8, 9, 10 is the Mavericks, the Kings, the Lakers, and the Warriors. Who do we think is going to maybe bounce out of there? Maybe it'll remain the same.
I think like the order between those could change, and maybe some of the ones at 5 and 6 they might drop in and out. But I think none of them will drop below. Like I don't think the Rockets will come up.
I think they have a
the Jazz have no chance.
Yeah, the Jazz.
The Rockets and the Jazz, I think, have dropped a little too far.
The Jazz also sold at the deadline a little bit. They traded some guys away to make sure that they're not going to push for the play-in anymore.
Yes.
I think like for the Lakers, like especially with like AD misses games, LeBron he's kind of dealing with like an ankle injury, kind of on and off. I don't think they'll kind of remain at like 9, 8, maybe even 10, depending how like the Warriors, they've been playing well as of late. So I think the Lakers will kind of remain towards that lower end of the play-in, 9 or 10.
I think the Warriors have a good shot to move up for sure. I was looking at their schedule a little bit earlier today, and they do play the Mavs 3 times, who are ahead of them. So that's something to note. Another thing, too, is I think the Phoenix Suns are almost certainly going to drop into the play-in. I think that we're going to actually end up with one of the best play-ins, or the best play-in probably you could ever imagine. I think we're going to get LeBron, Steph, and KD all in the play-ins. Anthony Davis, too. Because if you look at the play-in right now, you see the Mavericks won the season series over the Suns because they obviously own them. They've owned them since 2020 or since 2022, and Luka annihilated them in the playoffs.
Yep.
So the Suns, they've lost the season series to the Mavs, so they hold the tiebreaker, obviously. The Mavericks do. And the Mavericks as well, they have a much easier schedule than the Suns. And the Suns, one thing to point out, they have the toughest schedule left in the NBA, and it's not even close. The Suns. The Suns have the toughest strength of schedule left, and they're only, as we know, at the West play-in right now. It's extremely tight. So I think that for sure I would back the Suns to drop down to the play-in. I'd take the Mavericks to bounce out of there because their schedule's not too bad. They've got Luka and they've got some other good guys.
The Mavericks have the 21st hardest schedule, so
yeah, I'll take
which
them.
is 9th easiest.
Yeah,
I think if you do it backwards, yeah.
Yeah, I'd take the Mavericks then, and then Lakers and Warriors I think will stay 9 and 10. So I think which is kind of crazy is that everybody's talking about which one of them can make a deep playoff run. Well, one of them is going out in the play-in.
Golden
in the first
State.
game.
The Lakers have the 7th hardest remaining. The Warriors have the 24th hardest. So the Warriors have
easy schedule.
Pretty much opposite sides. Easier, Lakers harder. So there's a chance the Lakers and Warriors flop in the 9-10. I think they're going to end up as the 9-10.
Agreed.
There's a little bit of room between them and the Kings.
Kings have a tough schedule too.
They're 4 and 6 in the last 10. They've been on a little bit of a slide. I think the Mavericks had a 7-game winning streak before. A couple losses in a row. We'll see. I mean, I think their next game is against the Celtics as we record this, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Hutch, what do you think about being a LeBron guy? What do you think about the Lakers' chances of moving up in the play-in?
Well, first talking about regular season, I like their odds based on what happened last year. I mean, I don't remember how tough their strength of schedule was, but they were in virtually the same spot, if not worse, last year, and they ended up almost actually making the playoffs. And they had to make up so much more ground than they would this year. So to me, I mean, As far as the regular season goes, yes, they have a hard remaining schedule. Watching them play the last couple games against Phoenix and against the Clippers, there's no difference between the teams. Like, they can compete with anybody in the West except maybe the Nuggets, which we all probably agree with. But as far as the other teams, I like Dallas to get out because I think they are gelling at the right time. Kyrie's finding his stride at the right time. So yeah, those would be the big ones. And then the Suns could easily move down to me. Just watching them play against the Lakers, I thought they got a lot of free throws on ticky-tack calls. That's kind of what won them that game. Watching them play, I didn't really see anything special.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I haven't seen too many Suns games this year, but
the Suns are, that's what I'd say. Right now the Suns are in 5th.
And Beal's a wild card, too. You got to keep that in mind. Yeah. Beal has barely played any games from all year. The chemistry's not there, obviously. And Beal, we don't know if he's going to be healthy for the playoffs. We don't know when he's going to come back, honestly, at this point, because it seems like that hamstring gets re-aggravated every single time he hops on the court. So
yeah,
you never know with the Suns. They're a wild card.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'm kind of disappointed at all the teams that are in the play-in. It was kind of just going to end up being that way anyway, the way the West is, how deep it is. There's going to be 2 good teams that are not in the playoffs this year, which is really unfortunate. I mean, right now it's a guarantee that LeBron or Steph is out.
Mm-hmm. These are huge draws.
Yeah.
The playoffs will get way worse when these teams are eliminated.
Yep. I mean, the Lakers and the Warriors, even the people who aren't fans of them, like myself,
you want to watch them.
You want them. You don't want... I mean,
you don't want
no disrespect to anyone else.
You don't want Sacramento.
Yeah,
I like Sacramento.
The average fan doesn't want Pelicans Sacramento.
Yeah.
That's a bad series, but
yeah.
I like the Pelicans and I like Sacramento. It's just weird that you have to pick. Well, we don't get to pick. But like fun. There are 2 teams that just cannot possibly be in it.
Yeah.
I thought before the season, I mean, a lot of people were high on the Thunder. I didn't know if anyone was this high on them. It's kind of weird. Last year they were in the play-in.
Yep.
And I don't know.
So who do you like to get out, Thomas, for the play-in?
As it stands today, I'd say Mavericks beat the Kings. Lakers beat the Kings.
Agreed.
You mean in the play-in games?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, I'm assuming the Lakers beat the Warriors. I would rather have the Warriors in the playoffs. I actually think the Warriors this year have a higher ceiling than the Lakers because they're clicking at the right time, and they just have their team, I think, is just a little more durable for the playoffs than the Lakers as currently constructed, unfortunately, having to rely on LeBron so hard. But I think the Lakers in one game, I think LeBron is one of the best players of all time if you have to pick one game to decide it. Even though he's playing against Steph, who's also one of those guys. I think the Lakers are just a bad matchup for the Warriors. I think they'll take that play-in game. And, I think the Mavericks will beat the Kings. I think Luka
overpowers.
Yeah.
He'll will it.
I mean, I think this might be the year Luka has to finally...
get to a finals or something.
I think if he doesn't get to at least the conference finals this year, the pressure is going to start building a little with people in the media talking about him and just the franchise. We'll see if Luka wants to stay. I mean,
good point.
It's definitely a lot of pressure is going to start coming on the Mavericks. I think they have the potential to definitely make the conference finals. There's a lot of teams that they could beat, and all the good teams are going to be beating up on all the other good teams in the West.
I think we could all agree real quick. I know we probably move on. If the cards fall right for any play-in team, injuries, matchups, they could all pretty much go to the conference finals.
Especially when looking at who's at the top. Thunder and Timberwolves are not experienced teams at all. And
the Kings could beat either of those teams.
100%. Yeah, in a 7-game series, absolutely, especially with a rolled ankle or something like that, too.
And the fact that the Kings have the same roster as last year and took the reigning champs to 7.
Yeah.
I think the Kings, they're having a disappointing regular season, but if Fox doesn't break his finger, we might be expecting a little more from the Kings this year. So
true.
if they make it out of the play-in, I would not. A lot of people are sleeping on them. I would not be sleeping on them.
And it's going to be a good race too. With all 10 of those teams can make a run. So
yeah, definitely. All right, let's move on to our third segment. Who is going to be the next face of the league, if anybody? You want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. So I know an easy choice is to say Victor Wembanyama. He has the highest potential. And,
yes.
But I'm gonna pick Anthony Edwards. And the face of the league, it's not solely just the best player at the given time.
Of course, yeah.
I think it also kind of indicates, or it kind of takes into account who has the best branding, who's got the personality. And he definitely has that. You see a lot of his Adidas commercials. He's really kind of out there. He's promoting his brand. I think he has a high ceiling as a player as well to be. I mean, some people have him already as a top 10 player, and I think he could even ascend to a top 3, top 5 in the future when some of these guys like Steph and
once the
LeBron,
and
KD start retiring,
start to phase out.
He can you never know, he can be the top 2, even the best player. You never know.
Yeah.
But I think he has really the highest. I think for me, I would want to see him as the face of the league.
He definitely has the flair.
I think I disagree with that pretty hardly. I think that as a 6'4" undersized, not undersized, but as a 6'4" player, I disagree that he can really ever be a top 2 player in the league. I mean, right now you look at Jokic and Giannis, and those guys are miles ahead of him. And I just don't think that being a 6'4" player, you can ever really justify being that high up. The only guy that's ever done that is Steph. In the history of the NBA, the only player that's ever been able to do
Isaiah
that
Thomas.
Top 2 player in the league.
Oh, top 2.
Top 2 player in the league, face of the league. I mean, I wouldn't say so.
Top 5 maybe.
I'll push back a little bit just because
Dwayne Wade maybe top 5 at one
6'5",
point.
6'5", though. I mean, that's when you get
Anthony Edwards is 6'5".
He's 6'5". I thought he was 6'4". No.
I'll do a quick fact check.
I think he's no shorter than 6'4", but
okay, 6'4", yeah, Roll's right. Yeah, I mean, so do you have a pick for one, or do you think it's not really?
I think right now he was saying the obvious pick is Wembanyama. I think it could be Victor, but right now I think there's going to be a little gap in between there where I think they're almost going to try to make it Tatum. They're going to try to make it Luka, and I think that they're going to try to make it those two guys almost and see which one works out. But at the end of the day, I don't think either of them are worthy to be the face of the league. To be the face of the NBA, fair. I don't think either of them are talented. Talented enough, I guess, sure, but in terms of just having that it factor, they're not LeBron, they're not Steph, they're not these guys that we've seen, the Birds, the Magics. I just don't see that out of them. So I think if anybody's got a shot, it's going to be Victor. Because Giannis, I don't think Giannis, you can really have him.
I think it's a little late.
Either. It's late for Giannis. And Jokic, no way does that guy want to have anything to do with being the face of the NBA.
No.
So I think Victor, at being 20 years old, could really be that guy. Other than him, no, I don't. I mean, no way. These American guys, I'm a little worried about the USA. I mean, Booker, Tatum, and Ant, that's all we got compared to what we had before. Steph, Curry, Kawhi, all those guys that we had in the past. I'm a little worried when it comes to picking a face of the league that's American, so I think it's got to be one of those foreign guys. And Victor, one final thing to point out about him, he's a really good off the court guy. He's poised, he's well spoken.
Yes.
He has good hobbies. Anthony Edwards has had some really bad incidents so far off the court, and I don't think that helps you when you're trying to be the face of the NBA. The NBA is a league where they really focus on your character and what you can bring and how you can market yourself in a good way. And LeBron's been, he's been an exemplary, male for anybody in the United States. He's been a great person, no controversies, and Victor can be that guy.
I'm just playing.
Victor would be one of those guys I think that could be an exemplary person.
And I just have one thing to add to that, and I'll let you get your point off.
Go ahead.
But I do think just to point out, LeBron is the face of the league until he retires.
Oh, 100%.
And I just want to clear. I'm sure you guys kind of all inferred that.
That's a great segue.
I would say that him and Steph are the same at this point.
Well, I'm talking about the pure face of the league. LeBron has basically been.
Yeah, it's LeBron's a step above Steph. Steph's behind him.
I might argue that.
LeBron, he gets first. You look at the fan voting for All-Star, he's first every single year for the Western Conference and has been, and he probably will be. He can put up 10 points a game.
That's a good point.
In 5 years, and he'll still be first. I can guarantee you that.
He could retire, he'd still be first.
He would be.
I think Steph probably has more fans, but I think LeBron.
I don't think so.
I would argue Steph has more fans. I feel like every kid wants to be Steph. No one wants to be LeBron.
Maybe kids. I think one thing you pointed out there, kids. I think yes, like maybe the younger generation, like kids below us, even like
he's easier to become.
He's easier.
You can't be a LeBron. I mean, he's 6'10".
Yeah.
His game is kind of unique. Where Steph, he's kind of shooting threes,
and he's tiny.
Anyone can kind of pick that up if you practice.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd say it's close. I mean, LeBron probably is still just, if you had to pick one guy, it's him. You're not going to pick Steph over him. You want to go, Hutch?
That's just led into my point perfectly. I was just going to say, LeBron's been the face of the NBA for, let's just call it, almost 20 years. Basically, let's say 18 years since like mid-2000s maybe.
Shaq was the face before, right?
Or Kobe. I mean, Kobe kind of had a little phase.
There were co-faces and stuff early, yeah. But
I'd say LeBron became the... I don't know if LeBron was really the face until he was on the Heat.
Oh, I don't know. With the billboard and the hype coming in and the finals run and the Orlando shot, I think he had plenty of hype.
Oh, of course
already.
He did, but like, was he the one guy in the league before he went to the Heat and won?
He was like Steph in the past 10 years. He was like a secondary face.
But Steph wasn't big until he won.
Right. Well, that's
most
true for
guys
everybody.
aren't the face until they win. That's the only point I would argue with you on.
No, but LeBron won a lot under unique circumstances. To win 66 games with that team and to win 60 with that team. I mean, that's pretty spectacular in itself.
On a note here, I think I would like to point out, I do kind of agree to an extent. I think that Shaq was the face of the league probably until 2005.
Yeah.
And then I think LeBron took it from there on out. When LeBron, I think maybe 2006 even Shaq face of the league potentially, but when LeBron took that Cavs team to the finals, people were like, all right, he's the guy, he's ready, he's the chosen one. And
you don't think it was Kobe going into the double finals?
I don't think Kobe was ever really the face of the league, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
I think I would say LeBron was always kind of like that guy, I look back and I think that LeBron's kind of been better than Kobe since 2006.
We're getting into a new topic. This is a new topic.
let's stay away from this one.
These are rough waters today. But to finish the point, so LeBron's been the face of the league for, let's just say, 18 years.
A while.
Yeah. That's as long as we've been alive, essentially. So to think about how hard it is to actually find a face of the league, that's proof. And the media's, we've seen it over the past, say, 6 years. Wherever we go, ooh, is KD the new guy? Is Kawhi now all of a sudden the best player? And you keep hearing like, oh, Luka, look at Luka this year. He's the MVP frontrunner going into the season. And there's sort of these narratives every year, like, who's going to be the new guy? And they never end up materializing.
Yeah.
And that's why my answer would be, there is no face of the league yet. It'll just happen naturally if it's going to happen.
Yeah. All right. I made another little list.
Oh no.
Let's hear it.
So, a couple just prerequisites. I think being American definitely helps, but it's not the end-all be-all. And I also think that, like, when LeBron came in, there wasn't like really a slew of top tier players to the point where it was really a debate. Mm-hmm. Like, no one was really at the level of LeBron at a certain point.
Well, I mean, Tim Duncan and Kobe were.
And
but
Shaq,
Tim Duncan is like Jokic. Like, he wasn't really like face of the league material.
No, he didn't want anything to do with it.
He didn't have
Shaq. I don't think Shaq was great for ratings. I don't even know if he was necessarily the face of the league. I don't think the league was doing great during Shaq's run.
I mean, you can argue.
It took a dive after Jordan.
Like after Michael Jordan retired, there was really no true face until LeBron.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people kind of subscribe to that notion, and the ratings go along with it too. The ratings have never recovered quite to the years when Michael Jordan was there. They've gone back up, but they plummeted severely after, and then they've kind of gone back up, but they've never quite hit that pinnacle.
And the NFL's gotten bigger since then too. That's the other thing.
I think that they're definitely pushing a couple guys. Obviously, I'm a Tatum fan. They're really pushing him right now in the media. I like that they're pushing the MVP case for him. I think he would have gone a little under the radar if they didn't push it at all. But face of the league, maybe. I feel like it has to do with a lot of things. I mean, Tatum's a pretty good-looking guy. He's young. He's on the Celtics. He's a good personality. He's a good father, and he's humble. and I think he's a good selection. I don't know if he's ever going to reach the, like you said, the real faces have been Jordan, Magic, Bird, LeBron, like
that's about it.
Maybe Kobe and Shaq. So is Tatum ever going to reach that? Unless he wins 5 finals, probably not. My next guy would be Anthony Edwards because he has the flair, and I'd say him and Tatum have pretty similar. I honestly think Edwards might have more potential. Wemby's my third guy. The sky's the limit for him. I think Wembanyama could be the greatest player of all time when it's all said and done. If he's on that trajectory by year 4, when LeBron and Steph and KD start fading out, he could take over. And then there's all the guys like Giannis, Luka, Shea, Halliburton, who are all just... Giannis and Luka, I don't know if they really fit the mold. I think they're not too foreign, but Giannis is a little old. Luka, I don't know. I just don't see it with him. And then a couple maybes because of their marketability are, I don't think this would ever happen. Ja, Zion, and LaMelo. My opinion is they're going to take all these guys and just make collages everywhere. And it's going to be Tatum and Edwards and Luka and Victor as the front 4, and then just have a couple guys sprinkled in all the time. They've already started doing it on the NBA apps and stuff. They'll put Tatum as the center photo. They push the MVP narrative in the media, the face of the league. They know that the time's coming and the media is going to play a role. They want to get somebody, and personally, I think there's a lot of guys who you could argue. If Tatum wins, that helps a lot. I don't know if you can be the face of the league unless you're LeBron and you're literally the chosen one. If you're not winning championships when you're young, it's going to be really hard.
I mean, Michael Jordan didn't win them right out the gate. Like, it took him...
But it was But it's the same with LeBron. It was so clear that Michael Jordan was going to be the best player.
But he wasn't the face of the league early.
No, but he was also dealing with Larry and Magic, who...
Well, his reputation back then wasn't great either. That's the other thing. I mean, before he started winning, people said he's a ball hog. He's never going to win. And then he won. Then everything changed.
Yeah.
So also the Nike thing. The Nike thing was huge.
Yeah.
When he signed with Nike, that was the thing that really
brand.
took him into a new stratosphere in terms of marketability, obviously.
And a lot of people like to say that Bird and Magic put the NBA on the map. Jordan made it global.
Yep. Exactly.
That's a good way to describe it. And kind of just to go back to the point you were talking about with Jason Tatum, when you said his humbleness, I think that actually hurts him.
That's fair. That's why I said
LeBron is not humble.
No.
Jordan's not humble.
No, those guys are
humble. I think
Kobe's not humble.
It plays into their brand, I'm the best. Mm-hmm. And you want someone if you want face of the league,
Mamba mentality. Everyone knows what that means.
If you want someone to be the face of your league, you want them to think they're the best. You hear Tatum sometimes. He's I don't know if I'm the best in the league. I don't know if I'm a superstar.
He just recently did say he's the best.
He did recently say it in a.
But he still said it before. So it's still out there that he's not.
It is. Yeah.
I mean, at that point, though, he definitely wasn't the best. I think at this point, there's a chance he actually believes it now.
We're guys like Anthony Edwards, he's been saying
every given night when he steps on the court, he can outplay the best player on the other team. Any given night. Against every single player in the league. There's not one player in the league that Jason Tatum could not go into a game and outplay.
If we're putting it that way, then yeah.
He outplayed Giannis in the playoffs.
Luka, you can say that for Embiid.
You're right. Every one of those guys, hopefully, they should think they're
for any
best.
Superstar, you can say that for.
If you're a top 10 player, you should think you're the best player in the NBA.
Embiid's
LeBron probably thinks he's still the best player in the NBA.
But I'm just saying, Edwards has more of that kind of flair, and he's been out there saying, you can't guard me, I'm the best out here. And maybe he's not, but he tells you that he is.
Yeah, we'll see. But, yeah, it's definitely going to be hard. There might not be a single one.
And one more thing, too, Embiid's another one of those guys that probably would love to be the face of the league, but there's no way
He's a little old.
He's almost
I don't think he has the personality.
I think he does. I think he has the personality. I just don't think he has the durability and to back it up. I mean, I think he could.
It's hard to.
I like him.
Him and LeBron might be.
I like Embiid's personality. I like Embiid's personality. I think he's.
He's got jokes.
He's underratedly funny.
He does have jokes.
He's funny, but like, I don't know. Like Giannis has more of a personality than Joel does.
I mean, like I don't know. I don't know about more. I think they both have different maybe types of personalities, but Embiid,
Giannis is a little louder.
maybe.
And I think, like Mike said, that's gonna hurt Tatum. Tatum he's soft spoken, unless he's definitely not the vocal leader on his team. Maybe he is in the locker room, but it's not visible. All these other guys who have been the face in the league, you can look up clips of them screaming at their team.
Yep.
They're all the guy. They're all, I'm the best guy on this team. I'm the best guy in the NBA. That's just, it doesn't feel like that's Tatum, at least yet. We don't know if he wins. They're the odds-on favorite to win this year. There's a chance they win another next year or the year after before the payroll starts to head up. So we'll see. I think winning is definitely going to impact it.
Well, I think one other massive problem is enjoyment to watch. Like I think part of what made LeBron such an easy face of the league is he's such a different type of player, just overall.
Yeah.
Like there's no one ever like him to play basketball. And watching him play, you go, like he's the best athlete on the court. He's the biggest guy, but he can also dribble better than anyone else on the court, score, pass. Whereas like Jason Tatum, watching him as a non-Celtics fan, there's not much there to be like, wow, I got to catch Jason Tatum tonight. Same with like Anthony Edwards. Like there's 10 guys that are the same.
I disagree. I think Anthony.
Like Donovan Mitchell is very similar to Anthony Edwards.
I completely disagree.
Like I don't see
Anthony Edwards' dunk package highlights are insane. It's like Ja. It's like Ja and Zion are like, and I would throw Ant in that too, where they have the highlights that could get them there.
I don't think Tatum people are tuning into Minnesota games.
I'm not. That's the thing. I don't care. Like,
I think he's a little.
I just don't care.
You're right.
People won't take him.
You're right. I think no one takes him seriously yet. I don't think anyone was tuning into the Thunder last year.
We can't also use the. I mean, this hasn't necessarily been used yet, but eventually maybe some people will use the small market excuse. Oh, he's stuck in Minnesota. Well, LeBron was stuck in Cleveland for 8 years of his career, and he was still the face of the league, face of the league for some of that time. So.
Yeah, it comes down to who people want to watch. That's why the media can't force it.
You're right. Yeah, the media is gonna try. It's about what the people want, and if it feels forced, we're gonna know.
It's forced right now.
I think they're trying to force it. It's not time yet. We have however long LeBron has left. At that point, I mean, we'll say 3-4 more seasons.
I say 3 more years after this. I think he wants a 3-year deal, and I think he's done after that.
These topics are 3 years too early. Like in ESPN, we should be talking about this in 3 years.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's why they're talking about it. All right, let's go on to our 4th segment. Will the 2020s end as the best era of centers ever? So, as we all know, most of the good centers in today's game are foreigners. I'll just list a bunch of them. We have Jokic, Embiid, Sabonis, Porzingis, Vucevic, Nurkic, Valanciunas, Zubac, Gobert, Şengün, Ayton, Wembanyama, Pirtle. Almost every team in the league has a foreign center. If you're a good team, you probably have a foreign center. And then there's a couple good American centers. Bam, AD, and then there's a bit of a drop to Lopez, Holmgren, Allen, Capella, and Turner.
Capella's Swiss.
Is he?
He is, yeah.
I did not know that.
And Embiid's technically American now. He went to college in
from Cameroon.
Yeah,
he's going to play for the USA team.
He's going to play for the USA team.
That's citizenship, though. He has an accent, man.
Yeah, you still know.
He's not American.
Still tell he's not American.
He's not American. So we're.
But no, Capella's not American.
He's a foreigner. Okay, I didn't know that about Capella. Good catch.
He's from Switzerland.
Okay. So, I mean, has there ever been this much big man depth in the NBA at one point?
Well, I mean, historically, pretty much up until Michael Jordan, the consensus was always, draft a big.
Yeah.
Draft a big. That was like, and before then, all the greatest players in the league were all.
Yeah.
And Hakeem in that draft, he went first overall, partially due to that kind of mindset.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, obviously the Rockets they fared well. They got a generational player, but it's not Michael Jordan. It's not. They still would have liked to take Michael Jordan, but back to the point.
Yeah.
Will and Russell in the 60s, Kareem in the 70s.
Yeah, so 2 decades were dominated by mainly bigs.
Yeah, but even 2000s you had Shaq.
Mm-hmm.
So most years, pretty much outside of LeBron and Michael Jordan, the league has been dominated by centers. And I think the 2020s clearly is going to be one of those decades.
You think? So far in the 2020s, we have Giannis and we have Jokic.
And you count Giannis as a center,
which
you could say. And we'll
say the era of the big men.
Yeah, the era of the big men, right?
Yeah.
I think, for me, I think it's really interesting just to see kind of how it's flipped. Because, 10 years ago, people were talking about the big men being dead, right? The new era of small ball. This is the new wave. And it only lasted about 5 years until these guys finally got better. But, we were looking at DeAndre Jordan being the best center DeAndre Jordan and Joakim Noah being the two best centers in the league there in the mid-2010s. So that was a really bad era for it. But I think that in terms of all around, it was really bad.
Man. Good DeMarcus Cousins for a few years.
He was the best.
Draymond Green was a center. PJ Tucker was a center.
Yeah, playing as it. But I think one thing to point out, I think, is that in terms of overall depth, yes, this is going to be the best. But in terms of I think Olajuwon and David Robinson, that was a really good era there.
Yeah.
I think Shaq was huge. Shaq and Duncan, if you count those. Duncan was a power forward, but big man.
Yeah, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, Ewing, too, was in the 90s.
Yeah, we're not ignoring Timmy.
Yeah, but so when you look at it now, though, the depth is just there. You look at the three best players in the NBA, Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid. Those three guys are all about 7 feet tall. And then now you have Victor coming in, who's just going to be a freak of nature, and he could end up being one of the best players ever. So I think right off the bat with those four guys, I think you're looking at the 2020s just straight up having the best depth to begin with.
Yeah. Do we think that it's going to continue to be a foreign dominated position?
Center, I'm going to say yeah. I just feel like
it seems like all the guys from the United States.
We can't.
How many 7-footers do we have?
We had Cat, but he represents the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
But even just when it comes to 7-footers,
Chet.
AD.
Chet,
hopefully he turns out well. AD is a great, all-time great. Top 75 player.
One thing I'll say too, though, is even prospects for the future. The guy coming out of the draft this year, Alexander Sarr, 7'1", French, number 1 overall pick potentially. That's another guy that we're just not gonna have as a big man. Yeah. So I'm a little worried.
He'll be on a team.
He'll be on a team, but obviously that the Americans were not producing. But I'm a little worried definitely about what we're doing at the center position.
I think it's definitely going to also come down to winning. Gobert is one of the best defensive centers of all time, but he's never won, so nobody would pay him any mind in the 2010s. He won the Defensive Player of the Years, but
he was also too limited as a player. He can't
shoot
dunk.
threes,
he can't do anything other than dunk, basically, on offense.
So as the game evolves, and if the big men keep winning, I think, it's going to be tough for it to be the best era of centers. I think that back when it was Wilt and Bill, it's a little bit of a harder argument to make because
Bob
Pettit, just being taller at that point just made such a difference.
70s Moses and Kareem.
Yep.
One final point I want to point out here about this topic is that it honestly kind of has been somewhat dominated by foreign guys just since, I guess you could say, the Olajuwon era.
Yeah.
Hakeem Olajuwon was from Nigeria, so obviously, he represented the United States down the line, but he was a foreign-born player. Dikembe Mutombo as well, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, foreign-born player. Tim Duncan, even, I want to point out, he's obviously American, but he was born in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It's not the continental United States, I guess you could say, if you want to spice it up a little bit there, with Karl Anthony Towns being from New Jersey but representing the Dominican. But I think that, we're definitely going to... it's just a trend, and I think it's going to continue.
We can't forget the man who claims to have killed a lion, Manute Ball.
Yeah.
Stud.
I think 2020 will be the era of talent in the center position.
Yeah,
what's funny is Hakeem changed the center position forever in the 90s.
You're completely right.
And before him, you could be a sort of gangly, uncoordinated center and just play for 15 years. Mm-hmm. And the guys like even a Robert Parrish kind of not changed position, but showed you could do more than just be big. Mm-hmm. You can be fast and switch. And nowadays you have the guys with the athleticism of Hakeem and can shoot threes and can dribble, and now we're stuck with Jokic and Embiid and Wembanyama, and we're saying a guy like Rudy Gobert isn't even that elite today in the center scape, and in the 90s he would have been excellent.
He would have been great.
His skill set would transfer well to the 90s.
Or any era, but yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So as far as just the depth and talent at the position, we're setting up to have that, of which we've never seen before. But in the 90s, like you said, in these other decades where you have Moses and Kareem, that's two top 10 and top 20 centers. Then you have Shaq and Duncan. Okay, that's two top 10 players of all time.
Yeah.
So it might not be that top heavy in the 20s, but it'll probably be the best era of centers ever.
Yeah, one more.
I just want to add to Raul's point quickly, because he was saying how most of the centers are European. I think part of that too is kind of like now the big man is skilled. None of the unskilled bigs, that's like an extinct position.
Yeah.
And you saw like kind of the 2010s, there was a limited amount of centers to begin with, because most of those guys are kind of phased out. For the most part, I mean, you don't see none of the good ones at least. Like Jokic can shoot, and B can shoot.
I would say maybe like Bam.
He's a great shoot. He's wide open.
It's like 10 foot.
He had like little hawks and
mid-range. He can't shoot the three. He can shoot mid-rangers.
I mean, and like Sabonis is an absurdly skilled player. He can't shoot threes either. So you don't necessarily have to shoot threes.
Score.
But to be elite, to be like one of the top. I mean, Giannis, I guess, doesn't shoot threes either. But they have the fundamentals, and Giannis is a physical freak. One question I would also ask: do you guys think that the center position is gonna, in the future, start to sway more towards the swift and like more? I don't want to disrespect Jokic and Embiid, but say more like looks more like a forward that's 7 feet tall. Like Wemby or Chet, or do you think it'll be still the big body guys who develop more skill? Because this draft could end up with two incredible all-time centers. Depending on, I think Wemby's definitely going to end up being an all-time great. That's just my opinion. Chet, we'll see how he pans out. He has the potential, but a lot of people think those guys have to put on mass, but.
A lot of people draft guys with that weight.
There
aren't many guys like that
are big.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Giannis was super skinny, and he bulked up a lot.
He also grew a couple inches too.
But it also kind of diminished his skill set. Like he was shooting threes when he was a rookie. He's not as willing to take them anymore, or free throws. Any other points?
Yeah, I think that. Honestly, it's just going to depend on the talent of the player. I think that's all it is. I think Jokic is one of a kind. I think, really. I mean, we've never really seen something like him before. Like a guy like this that can do everything that he does and just barely be able to jump onto a curb with his vertical and just like.
I've never seen him dunk.
I've seen him dunk a couple times, but nothing special.
I haven't.
Nothing special. One-handers, but. No, I think definitely it's just going to depend on talent. So we're going to see what happens with Wembanyama. We're going to see what happens if there's another guy that comes into the league that is built like Jokic, built like Embiid maybe. And if not, maybe...
There aren't many guys like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. I guess we can start with a couple trivia questions. We've got 3 for today. We'll start off with this is more of a brain teaser. Name all the teams that don't end in S.
I know that one. That's Heat, Jazz, Thunder, Magic.
Wow.
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 Wait,
wow.
Wow. Did you leak the question?
What?
Swear to God, I look at the screen.
Wow. This guy.
That is impressive.
I guess
that's just one I've known. That's just one I've known like for a while.
I'll sit back and let him answer.
All right.
The teachers in school would be like going through an assignment and everything. Which teams did
How do you do that? That's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like that
before. Oh my God. Trivia Wilt Chamberlain.
That is crazy.
All right.
I gotta lock in now.
Well, I guess I only have 2 left.
We can't lock in like that.
Let's maybe Betzos don't comment on this one. This one might be
first.
This one might be a little.
You'll let us get it
This
wrong.
one's not. This one's not too hard either. But which 2 of the original NBA rosters have never changed their name or location?
Celtics.
1.
Hawks.
And the Knicks.
And the Knicks.
Oh, that's right. The Hawks.
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
That's where their ring is.
I was thinking of Bob Pettit.
As a Hawks fan, you should know.
Yeah, big Hawks fan.
All right. Oh, man. I'm worried Mike is going to answer this one really fast, too. Who is the last player to win a scoring title that played all 82 games?
That is a Betsos question.
Jordan.
Say Kobe Bryant.
Neither.
LeBron.
No.
KD.
Melo?
Kevin Durant.
Oh, yeah.
He had 5, right? I think he's got
won
5
four,
scoring
I think
4 or
four.
5 to his name. Yeah.
I didn't know he
but-
played 82.
He might have one of those
That
years.
was the shocking
Wow.
part.
Yeah, he played
Early
82.
2010s, probably.
Yeah. It was, let me find it. Where was it?
I know Michael Jordan's done it.
That's the most shocking thing of the night.
I don't
Kevin
know
Durant
where
played
it
82
went,
games.
but-
I had no idea. That's really cool.
Yeah, I don't know where I had the stat, but it's true. Kevin Durant played all 82 games when he won the scoring title.
It's a good one. I didn't get that one.
Yeah.
So.
Early 2010s for sure for Kevin Durant there.
I believe it was 2010, 2011.
Yep. Makes perfect sense.
I have it on my phone, but I don't have my phone. Sorry. Alrighty, and that is going to do it for today. Thank you for watching. Definitely like, subscribe, and check out some of our other content.